All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Good morning. Welcome to the ASAP in the morning. We're bringing the show back. It's been on hiatus over the Christmas holidays, getting some stuff worked out. I am your host, Ray Cruz. We'll be coming to you back at a regular time at 10 o'clock starting tomorrow, Monday through Friday. I will be on this show bringing some the morning, get your coffee, rise up, get your sports news, head out for your work day, get you started here on the All Sports All Plays Network, kicking the network off with the first show of the day. So we're back at our regular capacity, normal time. We'll be at 10 o'clock starting tomorrow, Monday through Friday here on the All Sports All Plays Network. Let's continue right along here. Just like I said, if you want to contribute to the All Sports All Plays Network, just the ASAP in the morning. We have all our shows. You want to go ahead and send us some stars. That will give us money to make more content, more shows, improve our shows, improve our graphics here on the All Sports All Plays Network. So if you'd like to support us, you can go ahead and send us some stars on our Facebook page. You can go there and click stars. One star starts off at 99 cents all the way up to I think $20. It gives you like so many stars you can send us. So all that money will bring back into the All Sports All Plays Network, not just for this show, for all the shows and all for the network itself. So go ahead and send us some stars here on the Facebook page. Well, last night we were supposed to be talking about some Monday Night Football, but tragedy happened on the field. The game was postponed, which I believe was the right move by the NFL. You got to give credit to Roger Goodell and the NFL upper echelon getting the thing done with the head coaches, both of the coaches working out. And I mean, you couldn't put players back out there last night. The way this tragedy happened and the hit and the way he got back up and passed out, and they said they did CPR on the field. They said they got his heart rate back on the field before they entered into the ambulance and hit him off to the hospital. He's right now in critical condition. The last report I got was they inserted a tube, and they put him to sleep, inserted a tube to stay with his heart, and they're going to be running tests overnight. We haven't got any more up-to-date news on that right now. They just said CNN, the last update by CNN, they said the Buffalo safety Damar Hamlin is age 24, is in critical condition in the hospital after sudden cardiac arrest when he collapsed mid-game against the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday night. His team said Hamilton's heartbeat was restored on the field, and he was taken to Cincinnati Hospital, and that's according to the Bills organization that they released out. But right now, the latest news is he's still in critical condition, and he's still he's okay. They came back and said that he is breathing by himself now. That's some good news right there. We've been praying here on the All Sports All Plays Network for him and his family, and the Bills organization and the Bengals. Who these guys really, if you really don't know about the NFL, these are brotherhoods. Even though they play against each other, it's a big brotherhood club. It's like some sort of like your military. For us military people, we are treated like family. It don't matter if you're in the Army, Navy. We give the Air Force people, hell, but they're all part of our family. The Marine Corps, we're all big brotherhoods in the military. I served for 20 years in the United States Navy, so I understand the brotherhood of the organization of the NFL, which is, you're playing against each other, but you still are a community. And Ryan Clark said it best last night on ESPN. when he was talking about his heartfelt story. And if you know about Ryan Clark, he missed an organ playing football and stuff like that. So, and he came back and played many years for the Steelers. And he talked about his story, but then he focused on Hamilton himself. And I have to give ESPN the way they handled this thing all the way up from Susan Colbert all the way down to Shelf, to McFarland, to Troy Aikman, to Buck, and then they turned it off to Mr. Van Pelt on ESPN, and he took it from there. And then Ryan Clark was on there, and then Saunders was on Soldiers, the sideline reporter for ESPN. She was on there, and you could tell the emotion of all these people. And then when they went outside the hospital, they put their analyst who covers the Cincinnati Bengals. They rushed straight over from the game over to this. They started up getting live coverage at the hospital, and then they showed Diggs taking an Uber all the way from the stadium there and watching them. And they're saying that one of the ESPN guys he came back on and said he was talking to Tyrone Diggs up the farthest he could have gone till the police stopped him. But he had to vouch for Tyrone Diggs to get him into the hospital itself. So you can see the family, you can see the high urgency this was, and you can see the leadership on the Buffalo Bills getting there on station. So, I mean, this is a tragedy. Football game is way past this. If you ever seen somebody fell lifeless, I've seen it. I experienced it firsthand, being there, watching certain people die out in the battlefields. It is nothing you don't want to see, man. It's tragedy. It's very heartbreaking. So I mean, to me, they all did the right move. The NFL, all the way from the NFL, the ESPN, to the organizations, both organizations, the both head coaches, the referees, the umpires, they all did their job correctly. And you could tell the NFL has learned over the years that this was bigger than the game itself. So we don't know if the game is going to be rescheduled or how they're going to work this issue here out. But right now it's good signs. We had a guy on here. He said that he said that he is breathing by himself now. That's a good news. Very good news there too. So I mean, he's still not out of the woods yet. When you've been stopped breathing for so long, it takes a while to get back to you, so you can make sure that everything is correct with you, from your mental all the way down to your body. And we don't know what kind of condition he had. We don't know if the hit knocked his rhythm out of his heart. Certain time collisions on your body that you have could knock your heart rhythm out, could stop making you breathe. We don't know if it's a condition that he didn't know if he had. So we got to watch. We'll have to keep the reports going on. It was good that he's breathing on himself now, and we can keep following this story on All Sports All Place Network in the morning, and we'll give you updates as we get them throughout the day. Watch out for Twitter, watch out Facebook. We'll post updates as we get them going there. But a good thing is he's breathing on his own right now. Keep Damar Hamlin and his family in your prayers. It's a very tragic. I mean, this is going to leave a lot of impression on both teams, on the Bengals and the Bills. And I mean, and the reports are coming out when Hamilton hit Diggs left the field in his mom's arms, sobbing. Yeah, it affects both teams. It really affects everybody in the stand, because they were reporting as they were going on last night. When I went to bed about 1:30, they said the Bengals fans and the Buffalo Bills fans that were at the game are starting to fill the streets at the hospital, and that's a good thing to see from both organizations and their fans. You want to see the sportsmanship, and right there it shows you the true sportsmanship of what and sporting events supposed to be alike. Even though you are combatants on the field, but you're a big unity off the field, because you don't know, this could be you out there on the field doing the same thing, and it hits everybody and we're all humans. We all got emotionals. We all got the support of a big-hearted person. I'm a big-hearted person. I'll admit, it was stuff like this, I would tear up too. I mean, actually, I got very emotional last night because it reminded injuries that I had when I played football. It was not severe as his, but it took me back to thank, God that he watched over me while playing football and stuff like this. But you put your life in perspective when you see somebody collapse like that, give up and just collapse, and then they doing CPR. It gives you really perspective on your life. What is Americans like? What are we true? Are we not divided here? We all came together. We are a very emotional thing here. So, I mean, it's good to see the relationship of the two fan base on the night and everybody coming together. I mean, everybody from the NBA, give the credit to LeBron James. He mentioned in his press conference, about this situation because somebody asked him. But he commented about the situation very professional. You got to give him that. And you can see some of the Buffalo Bills, you can see some of the NHL people giving things out on Twitter. Sending prayers from different organizations. So I mean, it's a big thing that you can see on yourself to reflect on this situation. But when somebody's life is involved, everything stops. Everything's focused on him. And I think the NFL, they got this 100% correctly. I know Skip Bayless put some posts out there, people interpreted it certain ways. He should have left it alone. That wasn't the place to put that out when it was still fresh. He's got to know professionalism, when to put stuff out and when not to put stuff out. And to me, that was just self-harmless. Even though you can interpret it the way you want to interpret it, to me, I think he should have left it alone. I think he should have had that post down the road later on. Once we get information about what's going to go on with that game, if it's going to be restarted. And by the way, the game is just suspended right now. It's not, and postponed. When the NFL postpone games like this, if they decide to replay it, it will be picked up at the time, the spot, and the score where it left off last night. So that's a situation that's going to come down the road. But right now we got to focus on the team. We got to focus on the players. We got to focus on both teams and the players on this situation here. How are they going to feel once they get the good news that he's breathing on himself on his own? And it might take 3 or 4 days before we even know what the NFL is going to do in this process, because it takes a while to get the test runs and stuff like that. Once the players get on their set of mind that he's going to be out of the woods, because right now he's really not out of the woods, even though he's breathing on his own. When you lose that much time between your last breath and getting back into life, it takes you a while, your body to find out what caused this issue. When he's going to be out of the woods? Did he suffer any kind of brain damage? Because it's all I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not saying I am, but I did a little bit of research on it. When you stop breathing for so long, 8 out of 10 people would develop like some kind of medical issue. We have to see what's going to go on with him, his medical doctors, the team of medical physicians that are looking at him. And then once they get the good news or the prognosis of the news, they can ease the players' minds, and then the players can go with the coaches and the organization and the NFL office and say, hey, we want to go ahead and restart this game. Then the NFL got to find a place to do it. I wouldn't be surprised if they say, okay, we're going to play this game on Sunday, or we're going to play this game on a Friday, or we're going to play this game on a Monday. It wouldn't surprise me one bit if they come out and say this game is going to be restarted before the playoff starts. Because this is a key. I understand this game is a very key game, but it's also, you got to take the game and push it to the side right now until the players can feel comfortable that was on that field last night to continue that game. The NFL will not schedule anything until the players are comfortable, because they're in talks with the NFL Player Association. They have to get that approved from them first before the NFL, and then the team's got to tell the Player Association, hey, we're feeling comfortable now since we know the great news is coming back to us that he's going to be fine. But that's going to be the key right now, is his health condition. When the players are going to feel comfortable to make that decision to the Player Association, the Player Association will work with the NFL to get this game back where it needs to be and stuff like that. But right now, the attention should be on Damar Hamlin, the 24-year-old. In my understanding, he had no precondition for this. So it could have happened on that hit. Like I said, it could have took his heart off of rhythm. It could have pushed some up into there. It could really be something that he did on the hit. I mean, we don't know the variety of this situation, because the hit wasn't a illegal hit. It wasn't hit to the head. It was a regular physical tackle. He got back up, and then boom, he went down. So he could have done something on the hit, and when he stood back up, it could have done something to him to knock him straight out, to make his heart stop. Your body's fickle. If your body takes too much of a hit, it can really do something inside you to shut you down. But good things that the medical people on the field, the team medical people, started the CPR right away and got his heart beating before he left the stadium. And then the two went in late last night, and they also said now he's breathing on him by himself, which is great news. A lot of prayers around the world for him. A lot of prayers. God answers their prayers right now. Let's let the medical team decide what they're doing, what his condition is. Let them report it. Let the players feel comfortable. Let the players make this decision on themselves to their organization. Let the organization tell it to the NFL Player Association. Let the Player Association work it out with the NFL if they're going to restart this game. It shouldn't be like Skip Bayless out there putting posters out and the media and stuff. That was just wrong at the wrong time. That was selfish. That's the way I look at it. Other people's got other opinions on it. That post could have came out later on. That post could have came out a couple days from now. But don't put it out when it's fresh on people's mind, when everybody is concentrating on him. The game is secondary. Your life is first. Game is secondary. You couldn't put the players back out there on the field the way they were out there crying right during the situation. You couldn't. It's no way that a player to see somebody collapse like that and getting your image of people doing CPR right on the field. And that situation is terrifying as it is. The NFL did the right move. The coaches, both coaches did the right move. The organization did the right move. The Player Association did the right move. Let the team get the health information for Damar. Let him get out of the woods. So to give the players some ease, give them time away from this game, before they decide what they want to do the next step for this game. There are some options that they can do here. They could do, we're not going to play this game. Cincinnati will take the second place. Kansas City will be first. Or they could come on down to Sunday and say, hey, we're going to play this game on Sunday. Finish it up. But right now, we got to find out the condition of Damar Hamlin and the players that were involved on both teams, if they're ready to come back out and play this game. You want them to be sound mind and body when they play games, so stuff like this won't happen again. So right now, our prayers here on the All Sports All Place Network for Damar Hamlin and his family, and the Bills organization and the Bengals organization, the people that were affected, involved in this game last night. And it's going to leave an everlasting impression on your life that you have to get over with, that you have to consult. And to my advice for you guys, if you need it, go out and seek some counseling, because a traumatic thing could cause PTSD, post-traumatic syndromes. I have it. My time in the military, I have it. I've seen some drama stuff overseas in Afghanistan. Traumatized my life. PTSD is no joke. Mental health is no joke. You got to have a support system. This you don't want to take. This situation, you want to go talk about it. And if I was the Bills and the Bengals organization, I will have counselors on standby. Come and talk to the team. There's no sense to keep all this inside you and bottle you up. Mental health is a thing that you need to take seriously. I mean, I take mine serious. I go to church. I respect my life to base around me being comfortable. My mental health is the most important, because I got kids. I want to be here for my kids for a long time. I'm 50 years old. Average male lives to be 84. But my mental health is more important to me than a football game. My mental health is more important for them to get themselves and mind condition right, where you don't hear on the news for suicide. People with PTSD, if they don't get help, or stuff like this with traumatic stuff in your life, you don't get help, it bottles it up inside. It can cause an emotional state to where you want to go out and take your life. We don't want to see that. That's why I got God in my life. That's why I go to church. If I need to talk to somebody, I talk to my pastor. I talk to my wife. Hell, sometimes I even talk to my kids. Or I go seek that professional help. Because to me, I have flashbacks. They're going to have flashbacks. You're going to be in a deep sleep, and next thing you know, you're going to flash back to that traumatic part of the game. You're going to wake up in cold sweats. These are signs that you need to get help. These are signs that if you can't sleep, you toss and turn, and you can't get a good night REM sleep, what you need to be to keep your body healthy, you need to start seeking help. Don't be too late. These are signs that telling you that you need to be. These are signs I'm helping people out with. If you feel like you are not sleeping good, or you flashing back to these situations, you need to seek some help. That's the tell signs that you're going into a depression or the emotional state. And when you get in that emotional state, that's when your mind thinks other things. how you can get out of this, how you can take your life out of this. People that and I'm telling you, if you don't believe me, you can ask all the military vets that have seen some dramatic stuff in their military career. I can tell you straight out, I think my dad had PTSD. He was in World War II. If he did one little trigger, he got off on the deep end. But back then they didn't treat that mental health. So if I was all the NFL players, and if I felt like some of these stuff, like if I'm having nightmares about this, I'm flashing back to that incident, it's time for you to talk to somebody. If it's just talking to your parents, talking to your loved ones, you got to have that some emotional support at this time. This is a vital time. The first 24 hours of this is your vital time that you need to take care of yourself. Forget what the NFL is. It is time to take care of your emotional state that this just dramatic incident will have on your body. You might not feel it right now, but later on down the road, it won't say it come back. Because it's in your mind. It's there. Certain things will trigger certain things in your life that bring you back to that incident. So take it from me, who I am, a survivor of PTSD. I am keeping mine in tame because I can't keep it really in tame because I do have that flashback. Sometimes I do forget my kids' names. I mix my kids' names up. It's all the trigger of PTSD. So I'm trying to help people out who's had a traumatic incident like this. Telling you the telltale signs that you need to find out. You need to find if this is going to hamper you. Go talk to somebody. Be a man to go talk to somebody. You might be a tough football player, but you're still a human being inside. You need to show that toughness and go talk to somebody. Break down to somebody. Let the emotion come out. Because you're relieving your body when you do that emotional state. That's what people don't understand. That's what people don't really understand about situation of traumatic injuries like this. Traumatic events in your life. You ain't got to be in the military. You can be out on the streets and seeing somebody get killed. That is a traumatic incident. That is a traumatic incident that will trigger your life for the rest of your life because you've seen that and your body cannot handle it by itself. You can't bottle in stuff, your emotion. You can't bottle it up and try to be a tough guy because eventually it's going to break your body down. It's going to break your mind down. And it's going to take you into a different direction that you don't want to go into. And sometimes when you get in that black hole, it's hard to climb out of that black hole. It is, when I found out I had it, it was 10 years after I got out of the military. My wife seen me, I have sleep apnea. I literally stopped breathing and sleep. I didn't know what was going on. I had flashbacks. I woke up sweating. I thought it was the covers. But I wasn't underneath the covers. And I woke up sweaty. Couldn't figure out what was going on. And then once I started noticing, my wife started noticing different things about me going to restaurants and not having my back towards the door. I got to sit in a restaurant where I can see 360 degrees of the restaurant, and I got to be close to an emergency exit. It's just the way I am because it's the traumatic syndrome that I picked up when I was over in Afghanistan. We got ambushed over there. So when people do a sneak attack, people walk behind my back, I can't handle that. If I don't feel like I'm in a safe place, I'm very conscious of my surroundings. My wife noticed some of this stuff because we went to restaurants and they had booths open. I said, no, I need a corner booth. Well, you're going to be waiting 20, 25 minutes. And she started noticing and picking it up on it because it started happening all the time. She noticed that we were only going to a movie theater that was across town because I could sit in the movie theater and it has a back on it on every row. And that people, when climbing, I can hear it. It's a dark space. So she's like, hey, we need to go talk to somebody. She literally made me go to a counselor and started talking to the counselor over the incident and stuff like that. That's when he figured that I had PTSD, and that's what triggered everything. So I'm glad my wife finding out the symptoms, pointed out to me, because I'm a hard ass dude. I don't want to show my emotional state on everybody. But when I went to talk to him, he says, even though you're a persona of you being a tough guy, means you're holding stuff inside you and not letting it out. And you're taking it out on other people. I lashed out on my wife plenty of times by accident. I didn't know what I was doing. What was causing it? Certain keywords she was saying triggered me off because of the traumatic injuries that I've seen overseas. Certain things my kids does set me off. My wife has to calm me down. So these incidents that I'm describing here, because what happened on the field last night, it's going to trigger an emotional effect on all these players. Some of the fans could be emotional started into this too. So if you're at the game and you have some of these symptoms and you're having these flashbacks, that is the tell sign that you need to go talk to somebody. It is talk to your wife, talk to your loved ones, talk to somebody. Get it off your chest. Don't hold it in. Don't bottle this up. Go talk to somebody. And I just hope that the Bills organization and the Bengals organization has set something up for these players. They talk to somebody to make sure that their mental state is in a good place. Because like I said, it doesn't happen right away. It can happen 10 years later on down the road. It will affect you in some way in capacity of your life. It could happen immediately. It could happen a year from now. It could happen 2 years from now. But there is something that will trigger this emotional state back to this incident, and it will trigger it when you're sleeping to go back into time and relive this incident, because it's a dramatic incident. It's not normal. NFL players know people break their legs, know that they'll tear their fibula, know they'll have knee injuries, know they'll have some kind of arm injuries. They're conditioned to those injuries. They're not conditioned to what happened last night. Nobody is. When you see somebody doing CPR on somebody else, trying to survive them to keep their life going, it is not a normal injury. Bucky McFarland on ESPN said it great when he talked about it. There are triggered for normal injuries like twisted ankles, dislocated arms, knee injuries. Could have a broken leg, could have a broken arm, could have pulled your arm out of its socket, could have had a stinger. They are conditioned to those elements of injuries. But what you saw last night is nowhere in God green earth is anybody triggered to that incident that happened. That right there shows how the organization of the NFL runs, because they took a human element and said, hey, this is not normal. They're distraught. You cannot get out there and get them back and play in the right mind. You're playing a brutal sport. You're playing a physical contact sport. And when you play a contact sport, like football, and you are not in your right mind, like the Bills and the Bengals players were last night, even the coaches weren't in their right minds. Look at the emotion. Look at them crying. That right there would set a precedent if they would say, well, no, we need to continue playing this. That would have gave a bad taste to the NFL. They gave a bad taste to the NFL players. That won't show the NFL what they're saying they're protecting their players. But that didn't happen. They talked. The head coaches talked. They gave information to the NFL representative at the game. The referee was in contact with their supervisors. They were in contact with the Player Association, in contact with Roger Goodell. They talked on the field, the referees and the two head coaches. Send them back into the locker room, get them out of the camera's view, let them grieve the way they need to grieve. It's all done right. Now, I seen an article today saying that if this happened a year ago, NFL wouldn't do this. I don't know. I think the NFL would. Because this is not a normal injury. This is not a normal occurrence. You know, back in the day, yeah, you seen ambulance come on the field for somebody had a broken leg. Now they got these carts. They cart them off the field before they can put them in the ambulance, so they won't show everybody they're going into the ambulance. But last night was not a normal injury. Last night was a life-threatening injury that the person affected every single person in that facility. The fans, the media, the play-by-play guys, the sideline reporter, the camera guys probably even got emotional. Susan Colbert wasn't even there. She's emotional on the set, the post and pregame set, the halftime set. Adam Silver, he showed his emotion. Booker McFarland had hard times even come up, even talk sometimes. He talked and shut down. The sideline reporter, her emotions there. Who? You know, Ryan Clark, I could feel it. I mean, I seen his emotion because it took him back to his injuries, his situation. That right there for Ryan Clark, I know he's probably got a great support system because he had that support system when he got injured, like a severe injury, that he lost organ. I know this will trigger some of the emotion back for him because it's a situation that happened on the football field in his situation. When you go through a traumatic injury like this, it is time to find your support system. That goes for people that are in regular day if you're watching. The streets out here are very violent these days. You're going to run into a situation that somebody might collapse in a grocery store. All this stuff that you see sometimes can trigger a traumatic incident into your brain. You might not be aware right away. Eventually it will come out in some tales, like mine. Mine came out in details of me not liking people walk behind me, waiting 25 to 30 minutes to a certain spot of a restaurant, going to a certain movie theaters that, hey, it's got a backing, you separated from everybody into different rows. You know, telltale signs that people are starting to notice that I was doing. Waking up in cold sweats. I tell my wife every time I woke up in cold sweats. My wife asked me why I was sweaty. And I told her, I said, I had certain things that happened to me in Afghanistan. I relived it. The post-traumatic This post-traumatic syndrome is no way. It's nothing to play with. Mental states is not nothing to play with these days. They got people to help you. You need to talk. If you're in this situation, and the NFL, this goes to you NFL players that were there, fans that were there, media that were there. You need to go talk to somebody when you feel these symptoms coming on, because they'll give you a relief of sensation, and they can give you a coping mechanism that will help you to get out of that state when you're in that state. It's like me when I was my coping mechanism. I'll tell you straight out. Sports. When I get away from the things I have in my life, I turn to sports. That you might think about it is dumb and kind of crazy. That 3 to 4 hours going to a game, just keeping myself out of the notion of what's going on in my life and what's going on here in the real world. That 3 to 4 hours you sitting in the stadium, tailgating, that takes me away from my stuff that is going on in my life, that's going on my PTSD. Yes, I call it therapy. Somebody asked me why I like to go to sporting events. It's my therapy. It's a way that I can get away from my life, my stuff that goes on inside of me, and I have that 3 or 4 hours that I can concentrate what's going on in the field. Everybody's got their own little coping mechanism there is. And then Damien went on ahead and said that if the NFL was smart, they would cancel the game, and whoever was leading the game have them win by default. Yeah, I kind of agree with that too, but the game is such a big thing towards the playoffs. I don't know exactly how they're going to do this. I think the NFL will be in contact with everybody that's involved. They'll come out with a rational decision. They'll say, hey, what went on? They'll talk to the other teams that are probably going to be involved in these situations, like the playoff teams, because this game was going to affect the seedings of the playoffs. And I think if Cincinnati won the game, they'll be the number 1 seed, and Kansas City moves number 2. So I think all of the teams that are going to be involved in this situation, they'll come up with a rational decision answer, probably, hopefully sometime this week. It's got to be no later than Sunday. Actually, it's got to be no later than probably Thursday. We'll probably have some kind of news coming out Thursday, because they could, or maybe tomorrow, because the teams are still in Cincinnati. So, I mean, they could go at any time. They probably told Buffalo not to leave Cincinnati. So, that's going to be the situation that we're going to see, because I don't know exactly. Let me look at Cincinnati's schedule here and Buffalo's schedule and see if they don't have another game on the thing. I think this is their last game. Let me see here. Week 18. Week 18. Let's see what Cincinnati was. Yeah, Buffalo's. Yeah, they got a Sunday game. So yeah, this is going to be the situation for this year. I don't know, because New England plays at Buffalo on Sunday, and the Bengals play Baltimore January 8th. So they both got a Sunday game. They both got a Sunday game. So I don't know how the NFL is going to work this, because if they both got a Sunday game, one's got a time is to be determined for the Baltimore and Cincinnati game. The New England and Buffalo game is set at 1 p.m. on CBS. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how they're going to work that situation. That's going to be a telltale. I mean, to me, if they can't play it by Wednesday, I know it's going to be a tricky part, but if they can't play it by Wednesday, they need to cancel this game completely, like Damon said, award the win to whoever was leading at the time, which would be Cincinnati, and let them move on to their next game. That's the only way I can look at this schedule. This is the only way you can do it. You don't want to put you don't want to put them in harm's way of playing a Wednesday night game, and then you got Thursday, Friday, Saturday to get back healthy to play a Sunday game. And you don't want to move it to Monday night. You don't want to move nothing. I mean, there's no way you can do this. Unless you decide to put Baltimore and Cincinnati on it. You play it Wednesday, and then put the Baltimore, Cincinnati, and the New England and Buffalo game on a Tuesday of next week. But then you got whoever takes that win, the other team's got, if they're in the playoffs, they probably have to play the wild card game. So you have to make sure that wild card team is playing on a Sunday to give them at least some time to get their body back in condition to play the next game. So, I mean, the NFL is in a tricky situation right now with this. They're going to have to make the best possible way to break this thing down. Say, hey, I'm sorry, but what happened is very secondary. Let's let this game go. We don't want to be back in the same stadium. But the Bengals will be back at home because they play Baltimore at home. So that's going to be the situation that you got to look at here in the NFL side of things. What is best for the players? My feelings? I don't agree with a lot of things that people say. But I think Damon made a smart conversation here with the NFL should say, whoever's leading the game wins that game. We got to move on. It's a bad way to do it because you don't know how the total income was going to happen at the end. But you didn't know the series tragic incident this is going to happen. The NFL made the right move, shut the game completely down, let the players grieve. As a human being, we have to have time to grieve. We have to have a time to process stuff. Especially this traumatic stuff that happened to Damar Hamlin. You have to give that team enough time to process what happened. Give that team some clarification from the hospital to get those players' minds at ease that he's going to be okay. Give them a purpose of feeling better about themselves, knowing that their teammates, their friends, colleagues, that they're going to be okay because they spend more time with their team than they do with their family when they play football. So there are brotherhoods, they're family. Everybody in the league, this is a big sorority, a big club, a brotherhood. I'm not inside of the NFL organizations. I don't know how the player unities works in the NFL, but some of these players train together. Even though they're on a different team, they go out and train together. They're friends off the field. I know the way the military works because I was inside the military organization. We got our backs with the Army people. We have their backs with the Marines, the Coast Guard, the Air Force. Just like the Air Force has our back, just like the Army has our back, the Marine has our back. We are a brotherhood. We feel for everybody that happens in that organizations. We're a big family. Just like the NFL is a big family. Like the NBA is a big family. NHL. All these organizations are a big family. And you can see the NBA players taking part of this, giving their thoughts and prayers out to them. The NHL players came out and gave their thoughts and prayers to them. Anybody that plays sports know that this injury is no regular injury that you ever seen before. This is a traumatic event. And when a traumatic event happens, you got to give your body, your mind, a relief. You got to get yourself to say he's going to be okay before you can move on your everyday stuff that you're going to have. And it shows you when Stefon Diggs took an Uber straight from the football field to the hospital, the security guard, the police weren't going to let him in, but the ESPN guy was walking with him. He vouched for him, so he let him in. That's how hush-hush this was kept. Because you don't want his information get out unless the family approves it first. You got to give their family respect to let them grieve what they need to do to make sure their kid is safe and out of trouble. That's one thing in being a professional athlete that you are, or a movie star, or anybody like that, because their fans are going to be getting on this situation and want to know everything. I think the media handled it well. I think the hospital handled it well. Their public relations came out and said they were not going to discuss it last night. They had to run tests. When we get test results, we'll come out and say what we need to say. If he comes off what he's on, if he's breathing on himself, we'll come out and say. It was good news. One of the guys on here about 11:26 came out and said here on the show he is breathing by himself now. So he got that report, he gave it to us, and we put it out here. Prayers are being answered right now. He's still not out of critical condition yet. He's still in that 24 to 48 hour window. You got to run these extensive tests to find out what this has done to his body. What caused this? What kind of injury did he get to cause his heart to stop on the field, to make him pass out when he stood back up? Was it the hit, or was it him standing back up and it kind of hit something and made him heart stop beating right then and pass out? We don't know what caused this, because his health issues, he didn't have any kind of heart condition that preceded this. Or if it was something that they couldn't detect until this incident had to happen to detect what he had. Your heart is fickle, because you don't know what kind of reaction you're going to have, or what kind of heart condition you do, until you either had a heart attack or you pass completely freaking out and your heart stopped before the doctor can really find the situation. How do I know that? My uncle had heart bypass surgery after heart bypass surgery. They couldn't tell what was causing it. So, I mean, you have to take your health situation thing. To me, I don't think he's going to play football again. If it is a heart issue that is going to cause, every time he hits somebody, that's going to cause him to knock it out of the rhythm or something. Something is going to have to tell him that he's going to be healthier once he gets out of this, if he wants to come back to football. Can I tell if this is going to be the last time he played football? No. Because I'm not a doctor. I don't play a doctor on TV. I'm not a health expert. I'm not in a medical field position. But I could tell you straight out, if it's a serious heart issue that's going to knock every time he hits somebody. It's up to the player, up to the doctors, up to his family to make that decision according to what the doctors give him on all these tests. So we got to look at it. We got to look at one or two spots here on this day, reflecting it. We can't push as fans to get these teams back on the field. Not today. Not tomorrow. You got to give them. You got to completely let this game go away. Either make it a wash. Don't give a victory or a loss to anybody. Because if you look, Baltimore is in the wings for Cincinnati. At Cincinnati. Even though it says TBD. We know Buffalo's got to go back to Buffalo because they host New England on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Where do you play this game at? Where do you finish playing this game? Because if you are the loser of this game, these two teams are a playoff. These two teams, Buffalo, I think, is on a battle for the wild card. Or if they're the last divisional winners and they got the lowest record, they're going to play one of the wild card games. So where does you draw the line as an NFL when you think you can play this game? You can't. You don't want to put these players back on the field today. You don't want to put these players back on the field Wednesday. You definitely don't want to put them back on that Thursday or Friday because they only have a day to get recovered to go play their next game. Even though you push those games back, you got to look at it here. Are you going to take away from the college playoffs and put a game on Monday night? Or are you going to move that game to Tuesday? You got Saturday and Sunday, you're going to play wild card games. Playoff starts. Where do you draw the line last night? Now you got to come out in the media today and say, hey, we have tried to figure out when we can play these games. We tried to figure out everything. The players are still in emotional strut from last night. It ain't 24, 48 hours, 72 hours recovery. We don't have a way to play this, and we don't have a way to put them in the spot of next week. So how do you constitute the way you treat this game? To me, you cancel it. Or you award the winner who's leading after that play. And move on. I know it's a sad way to do it, but you got to think about the player's health. And you got to think about the person that they saw on the field, lying on the field getting CPR. That's a toll on yourself as a human being that you got to process. And you got to process more than 24, 48, 72 hours. Until they get the word that he's out of the red, that he's going to be fine, to put these players at ease. You can't do nothing with these teams. You got to give them the rest of the week to process and get their mind state ready for the next game they got to play on Sunday. There's no way they can make this game up. There's no way. There's no way that you can move this game, play this game next week. There is no way that you can do this unless you put it on a Tuesday of next week. And then if one of the teams got to play the wild card, then you got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and you put that wild card game on a Sunday. You got Saturday. You got 4 days, really, to get them back in condition, getting ready for the play in the playoffs, in the wild card. What kind of advantages are you going to give the other team that played on the Sunday to get a full rest? And then these teams got to play on the Tuesday, and then they end up playing a wild card game on a Sunday. You're not getting them the full-time benefit to recover like the other team. So you're getting, if they got to play a home game, you're getting the team that's on the road their proper time to prepare. So, just like Damien said, I don't see a way that the NFL can play this game. Time will tell. We'll find out hopefully this week what they're going to do with the game. We're gonna tell in time spared in that thing. So let's see here. He says Adam reported yesterday that the game also was going to determine what time the Bengals-Ravens game was going to be played. Bengals won the game would be at 1 o'clock, and the Bills won the game would be played at 4. So, I mean, just like that, I mean, we don't know what's going to go on here. I can't speculate what the NFL is going to do. I can just give you my opinion. My fans out here can give you their opinions. We can give what Adam Schefter reports. We can give you what other outside people are telling. But we are not the people inside of the NFL who is going to make this decision. This decision is going to be bigger. It's going to have to come from the players, the Player Association, the NFL. The teams are involved. The playoff teams are going to be involved. You have to get them involved in this situation. We just don't know what's going to happen until Roger Goodell comes out and says, we have talked to the entities that are involved, and this is the solution that they recommend, and this is the solution that I'm going to go with. It all comes down to the NFL. It all comes down to the Player Association, and it all comes down to Roger Goodell making that final decision where they get the entities involved. Buffalo's got to be involved. Cincinnati's got to be involved. Kansas City's going to have to be involved. All the AFC playoff teams are going to have to be involved in this situation. You're going to have to get recommendations from every single team that is going to be involved in the playoffs. That could be possibly involved. So that's the teams that are still in the hunt. They're going to have to be involved in this process. They're going to have to get their inputs. That's just the nature of the beast. But like I said, our prayers here at All Sports All Place Network goes out to Damar Hamilton and his family. Hope you get good words. God's got it in His hands. We leave it up to God, but also you gotta read your body too. If y'all need to talk to somebody, don't hold it inside. Don't let the mental aspect beat you. You beat the mental aspect. Get in the head of it. If you start seeing signs, if your loved ones start seeing signs, take it to heart. Go out and get somebody to talk to. Even if it's your pastor. Even if it's your wife or your husband or your mom or your dad, they're still there. Or you go out and get a counselor and talk about it. Don't let it bottle up inside. And if you want to cry, go ahead and cry. Let it out. Don't let the tough man image compete to where you are going, and later in life are going to regret to try to get out of this black hole. That is a situation that you need to talk about. The situation that you need to keep yourself out of. People that really commit suicide in themselves are the people that let it bottle up and not reach out and get help. I knew I had to reach out and get help once I found out what I had. Because suicide rate for the military people are high. Because they don't know how to handle it when they find out what they do. But I had stuff in my life that I wanted to protect. That's my family. I wanted to be here on the All Sports All Place Network. Didn't know it was exist until my mom died, and I found something to keep me my mind off my mother's death, because that hit me hard. I suffered from PTSD before my mom even passed away, and my mom was my life support. I talked to her more about my situation, because my mom would sit there and listen to me. My mom would not say a word when I was talking to about my PTSD until I stopped talking, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm here for you, Ben." My mom's still with me in my heart. I tell my wife every night that my mom sits in the corner of the room, watch over me. It was because it's my coping mechanism. It keeps my mind in state of not being depressed. I could live a sheltered life. Do I want to go out? No, not really. Why? It's a lot of stuff that I have to overcome. Planes in the air, I have to overcome that. People walking behind me, I have to overcome. You see an incident like this happen last night, you will relive what happened. It's just the way your body is. It's just the way we are conditioned as a human being. Our bodies and our minds might not keep it. It's in your mind. It might not act out right away. Like I said, it might take a year to process before you start seeing symptoms. But the symptoms will gradually grow and grow and grow until it overcomes you. Unless you stop it at the nip of the bud, where you could talk about it, where you could have support. Like I said, the Bills organization and the Bengals organization should have people in place for these players to talk about it. Get it out of their minds. Get their body some healing. And the only way you can heal your body from this is have people in your support system that you can talk to. I was going to talk about some NBA, but this is one of the figures that it would hit me hard when this happened, because I've been through some of this stuff. I've been through people dying around me. That's what happens when you go to war over in Afghanistan. You line up in the streets in Bagram. I got to Bagram my first time there. They had a funeral. They had a person die. They all lined up and down the streets. The honor guard of the army, with horses and buggies in the coffin going down the street, leading them up to the tarmac, putting them on the airplane to bring them back home. When you see somebody's life and their body just go limber, you don't know how to react. Your body don't know how to process it. We process it through tears. We process it through trying to be tough about it, not talk about it. I'm here to tell you, your mental health is more important than the game of football. If you think that you need help, get it. Don't let it overcome yourself. Don't let it overcome your body. Don't let it overcome your thinking. Don't let it overcome when you're thinking about suicide. Don't let it do that. Don't let it get that far. When you start seeing symptoms of seeing it when you're sleeping, it is time to get help. The first time, it is time to get help. Take it from me. If you're in that stadium, and everybody in that stadium is going to have their own reaction time during this thing, you need to take yourself and talk about it. Don't let it bottle up inside you. I mean, it could affect the people at home too, watching the game. Because you're not at the game, you don't know what's going on in the field, because I like the way ESPN, took it away from the situation. The way they handled it, it was professional. It was done professionally. The emotion, you could see the emotion from everybody, from all the way into the studios, to Van Pelt's show, to Ryan Clark, to Lisa Saunders, to Troy Aikman, to Joe Buck. To the fans clapping, give them a standing ovation. We are used to seeing people get carted off, giving their players thumbs up, saying they're okay. This didn't happen because it was a different type of injury. It's a traumatic process. Somebody was living lifeless on a football field after making a tackle and collapse, getting to CPR, rushing to the ambulance, getting his family on the ambulance to take him to the hospital. To the reporters getting there fast enough to give us some updates they could get. Setting the tone, showing they getting there, going to the hospital. Talking about the fans from Cincinnati fans and Buffalo fans that were at the game showing up for support. They set the scene perfectly. That what was going on, so the viewers knew that he was in good hands. And then the pour of Twitter, the pour of Facebook, the pour of the support, the prayers. We will cover this story more as we get more information on the All Sports All Plays Network. I'm sorry the show was kind of an emotional show for me. I was going to go to other sports, try to get people's mind off of it. But when you talk about mental health and you talk about issues like this, it's dear to the heart. I like to get some information out to people. I like to use some of this platform to give out information. People might not know. You might be suffering from this and didn't know exactly how to get started to get out of the rut, the stuff that was bottled up inside of you. There is help out here for people. People just got to swallow their pride and go out and get their help. I was a big tough guy persona. But going to counseling and talking about that has now opened my eyes to where I can let my tough self, my tough persona go and be that human being that grieves. The process to keep my mind where it needs to be. Knowing what coping mechanisms that I need to put in my life to keep me insane, to keep my mind off of triggering my episodes. You can't get away from PTSD. You cannot. There's no way. It's going to be with you all the rest of your life. I'm going to live this till the day I die. Till the good Lord takes me up to the house and puts me into a new body. Because right now you're only written this body. You have to keep this temple to where you can product in life, to where you can be the person that you need to be, that God wants you to be. Don't let this tragedy set you back any. If you need the help to cope what happened, you need to go get it. That's my advice to everybody. My name is Ray Cruz. This is the All Sports All Plays Network. This is ASAP in the morning. We'll be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock our regular time, Monday through Friday, here on the All Sports All Plays Network. Everybody, have a good day.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a place. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.